Welcome to another edition of the 19th hole. I'm Kelly in Phoenix. This is Bo at Bo_make big time and Conor at cough_DFS.
Got it.
So we are here to discuss this week's Wyndham Championship. With no further ado, let's get that intro. One day we're going to invest in redoing the intro and telling who I am besides who you guys are and Nate, who's not here anymore.
You're still on probation, apparently.
What the hell?
I guess. So this is my new studio, but you can't see it yet. I actually am going to have to close my little window and smother right now because the traffic is a little loud outside. It's that time of day here in Orange, California, rush hour. And I'm still unpacking. I'm still Kelly in Phoenix also. I'm Kelly every 2 weeks in Orange.
It feels like you're in Orange more than you're in Phoenix lately.
The schedule is a little weird because of Scott Fishbowl and my daughter going to college, but we'll get there.
So it looks like Phoenix, though. I mean, you got the no air conditioner yet, so it's you're just right at home. It's hot. It's 108 here in NorCal, so you can't avoid it right now. Everywhere is just hot right now.
I really thought I'd be fine, but it's very sweaty here.
When it's 103 in South Dakota, yeah, there's problems.
Yeah, it's not great, man.
Excuse me. Talk amongst yourselves. What are you up to? I'm going to close my window.
Oh, this is our favorite tournament of the schedule because we're going to Sedgefield. The hoity-toity, snooty Sedgefield Country Club in Charlotte, North Carolina.
See, I still can't do the damn accent. You sound nice, though. It sounds like you perfected it since last year.
Oh, what are you trying to say? That it wasn't good last year?
No,
because our picks last year were spectacular. Like we had like top 5 all in our lineups. It was amazing. It was the best week of the year last year. We have Sedgefield nailed. The Wyndham Championship is the last tournament before the FedEx Cup playoffs, and we are already locked in. I mean, Kelly beat me by 1 point last week, and I felt like I still won because I did on my other builds. But Kelly gets the golf clap because she did beat me by 1 point, and I didn't get to take my victory lap from the week before, so I feel like I still won.
I feel like it's payback for last week because I saw that I won with money physically in my account, and then it was goodbye, gone the next time I checked because some adjustment somewhere, some inferior at DraftKings made this adjustment and you won. So congrats. And then I got my payback this week.
Yeah, I won by 2 points last week, and then you beat me by 1. So we traded off, and then Conor's been living in the basement. I think he might actually be right there in the basement as we speak. But I should just not put a lineup in. You could just be like your buddy Pat Perez and go and shoot 12 over par and still win the group stage of Live Tour and pocket over $1 million for playing like crap.
That might be not a bad plan for me. I'd take $1 million. Whatever.
Heck
Better
yeah.
than the $0 I've won for the last 5 weeks.
Yeah,
Wow.
you started off super hot this year and we're kicking our butt, and now you're starting to feel it because Kelly's been red hot for this entire back half of the season and probably most of the rest of the early season too. But I've been kind of middle of the road all year, and then I finally have hit the last 3 tournaments where I'm actually winning money and building bankroll so I can blow it on something else.
I mean, football's coming.
I might be experiencing interference. Am I experiencing interference? I can almost talk.
Little static, but it's not bad.
So yeah, this is all new. By next week, I will still be here in Orange for Tuesday night. I'll have my mic with me, which is with me, but it's not set up. And I will have appropriate air and surroundings. But for now, you get my new couch that I put together, my sheet hanging from the window. I'm gonna sweat. Bad lighting for now, but we're gonna talk golf, and that's what this is about. We're talking golf. We have a historically wonderful course set up by Bo. That's not really what I wanted to say, but the accent was on point.
I'll break it out a dozen times, too, throughout the show. It's great. It's good.
I'm doing the entire show in Sedgefield. Hoity-toity accent. Because we're better than you, and we know it.
Oh, my goodness. So, I don't know that we need to run it back. It was just a really interesting field. There was a lot of variety. You could win.
Conor does not want to run it back.
I think you could have set things up a million different ways, which is why I did a lot of my commentary last week around try these guys instead of these guys, because there were a lot of different combinations. But Conor was not.
Other than Finau at the top, there was like 4 or 5 guys in the top 10 that were under 8K last week, and so if you had the right value plays, you were winning. And that was Kelly had a couple of really good value plays. Like, I mean, obviously the Canadian guy Pendress that almost won the darn thing, and then I had a couple of guys that were under 8K, like Kitayama in a tournament I was in with a bunch of really, really good DFS players. I jumped into that shark infested water last week with a single entry lineup, and I put Kitayama in there, and he was 1% owned in that tournament, and he ended up getting 20th place, and that was with a 4 over stretch on the back 9 on Sunday, because for a while there I was pushing the lead of that entire tournament with a couple chalk guys with Cantlay at the top and Cam Young, and then I just went completely off the deep end with a bunch of value plays, and it really worked. So you can get chalky if you want, but you got to have some wild cards in the same mix if you really want to win.
I just wish that I had played my initial lineup that I made against you guys. It didn't win in other GPPs, but I would have beat you guys up pretty good. It was Young, Hadwin, Henley, Hubbard, Kirk, and Goddard up there. Yep.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yikes. I wish you would have played that too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Womp womp. What are we drinking though?
What are we drinking?
It is a cherry bounce, which is, I guess, the not the state drink necessarily, but it's the drink that spawned Raleigh being the capital of North Carolina. So back Prohibition days, this was the drink that apparently just made that little town boom. And it's a little different nowadays. Back then, it was made with cherry brandy. Now, most everywhere is making it with either cherry flavored vodka or vodka with some cherry juice, cranberry juice, any red juice, really. I did it slightly different. I did cherry juice. about 2 ounces of cherry juice, about an ounce and a half of this stuff. My dad loves this stuff. Mrs. Biddle's Key West Key Lime juice. So about an ounce and a half of that. And then about 2 ounces of switched up from my Tito's, went with Wheatley tonight. If you haven't had Wheatley, it's amazing. Buffalo Trace Distillery. And then you're supposed to top it off with seltzer after you shake it and pour it over ice. And I went with Clearly Canadian Wild Cherry, which is a throwback to my childhood. So
not bad, eh?
Yeah, $3 a bottle. It ain't great, but it ain't bad.
Don't you know?
So yeah, I think Bo made it slightly different than I did, but
I did. I kind of had some really unique ingredients that I found in my cabinet this week. When you posted in the chat what we were making, I was like, oh, cherry vodka, that's interesting. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do to make up for not having cherry vodka. Well, then I remembered that 3 years ago for Christmas, my mom made an entire batch of cherry infused vodka from scratch, and it's been sitting unopened in my cabinet for 3 years. And she gave us this, and it's got entire whole cherries in there, just stewing up and getting good. This is delicious. This is one of the best things I've drank before. And it's in this cool ass bottle with a nice rubber gasket so it doesn't go bad. And I did that with some lemon juice just to spruce it up a little bit. And then of course I garnished it with a couple of maraschino cherries, but it's so good. And I was surprised. I found that in the cabinet. And it's like, oh, right, cherry vodka, but it's like even better because it's just vodka that's been sitting with actual cherries for 3 years.
I went out on a huge limb here tonight because you know how much I freaking hate cherries, and this thing is a lot of cherry, but it's delicious. I
was surprised that was which direction you went, but it is a delicious drink.
Thought it was fitting for your victory laps.
Yeah.
Interesting thing with I've been alerted that there was some chat in the Twitter stream, not here on YouTube, but on the Periscope feed through Twitter. Detroit BC gave us all a shout out. And so I said I'll jump in and make sure that I'm seeing some of the chit chat. So if I'm looking down, I'm going to keep an eye on some of the Twitter chit chat too. We have 6 people watching over on Twitter. And looks like 5 more people right now have jumped in. 6 more people right now have jumped in on YouTube. So they're starting to come in. Oh, and
they want to know what we're going to do this week.
Hopefully as good as last year.
Oh, man, we slammed it last year. Whoo, it was great.
I feel all discombobulated now. So we've got a comment. So, Bo, Kelly has bent you over several times with PGA DFS thoughts.
Figuratively speaking, yes. And I guess figuratively speaking, it has gone the other direction multiple times this season. My thoughts are DFS is an ebb and flow. You kind of have to be like a closer in baseball with a short memory because you're going to get burned plenty of times through the year. Conor knows that pretty recently. I know that from a couple times this year where I just had horrible showings. Kelly's been consistently good all season. So in order for either of us to beat her in our head-to-head matchups, we have to bring our A game because I don't think she's gotten last place very often. And that just means that every week she's bringing it. And so if she beats me, it's because I didn't have the best stuff that week. But when I'm on, we know how good I can be.
That is true. I actually don't know if I've come in last, maybe once, but
yeah, once or twice at the most. It hasn't been very often. You've been dueling it out.
I do want to let anybody watching know that Beastie Chris, he is a Team Riser Fall writer along with Bo and I. So this was said in jest and not in any kind of mean way.
Well, he's kind of mean, but in a nice way. So we love Chris. He's great.
Just ribbing us. And then the next comment, Kelly, you're looking a little orange in your new digs. Love it. Congrats. Very funny. actually the complexion is looking a little orange because I have like a blanket blocking out some of the sun until my actual blinds come. It's going to be great to show you guys when it's all finished. I appreciate the love. This week
Thanks for watching.
I'm not drinking the cherry bounce.
Good luck to everybody. See you next week.
See you next week. I am drinking imported Woodford in little tiny mason jars that I brought because I didn't have any glasses and I was trying to pack, and I packed these and they made it. So I have 4 drinks.
Cut her some slack. Having Woodford in her moving situation is actually really clutch. I
wasn't gonna give her hell.
I mean, like, I'm for the viewers out there. For the viewers, like, to go through a move is already hell on earth. Like, nobody wants to move. It's the worst experience ever. And for her to have little mason jars full of Woodford is so clutch. I'm sure that's going to make you feel so much better once you do get everything done, because then you're going to be able to sip in a nice air-conditioned apartment and actually enjoy it. But yeah, super clutch to have Woodford on hand.
Super clutch. So let's cheers to that, and we're going to talk Wyndham Championship. Boop.
Sedgefield.
So tired of cheering you two.
Okay. Let me gather my thoughts here. We're not spinning it back, but we are out there not slamming trunks.
The club as well. This would be a wrestling slam.
It was just notified. We're notified. You've been notified. I did get the carpet done. So, and the couch. Woo! I know we're all fascinated by this move, Kelly, every 2 weeks in Phoenix. We have the Wyndham Championship. I'm so grateful for everybody watching, everybody who's been watching weekly. I've been getting loads of DMs and tweets from people who've been tailing our bets and winning. So that's really exciting. Keep sharing those wins as well. But this week we are going to kick it off. We haven't really talked about the course. Do we want to dive into that deeper, Bo?
Well, I mean, Connor's way better at this than I am, but I have it right in front of me if you want me to take over for it.
I also have my notes. So
holy smokes. Holy smokes.
Here's the cool thing about, and this was pre-Kelly, so I'll take a little victory lap about being so good last year, is I didn't have to change much. And because we catalog all of our shows, I have all of my stuff from last year. So even though I was running late, I got it all. So Sedgefield, Bo.
Sedgefield.
Country Club in North Carolina. Par 70, about 7,100 yards, give or take. We're Bermuda. It's a pretty easy course. And most of the time, as long as the weather holds off, you're looking at scores in excess of 20 under. Last year was a bit of an anomaly. Had a bad day. Top score is 15 under. Had a 7-way playoff, I believe. So it was pretty close at the top, and it was actually pretty close all the way through the top 10. Most of the guys that we had in our pool last year actually were just outside of that playoff. So it was a lot of points and really, really like tightly contested up top. So the big thing here, if there's anything really, is it's going to be tree lined. The fairways aren't super tough to hit. There's a lot of runoffs on the green. So around the green play is going to be sort of important. I personally, and this is how I played it last year, I intend to play it pretty much the same this year. I focused a lot more on approach and proximity. Certain proximity ranges, mainly 100 to 125. Par 4 scoring was something that we keyed in on last year on this course as well. The par 4s are pretty damn short. You're looking at 400 to 450 for, I believe, 8 of them. So short par 4s. The par 5s are pretty much gettable in 2 by almost everybody. And I really think those were the main things as far as the course was concerned. There's just not a whole lot whole lot of anything. It's a second shot course, which we say a lot of times, but this one you've got to be close. You don't want to have to scramble if you don't need to.
Right. Yeah. I get it. I think the worst thing that can happen on this course is being short-sighted when you miss the green, because the rough around the greens has grown up, but it's not a tough course. It's only just barely over 7,100 yards, par 70. It's going to come down to the guys that can put a wedge in their hand and stick it close, just like Conor said. And what we did last year was we took all the bombers out of it and we said, hey, who's the best with a 100-yard club in their hand? And pretty much everybody we picked was in the top 10. And it came down to the same thing we've seen at this tournament the last 2 or 3 years, is the most accurate ball strikers are going to be at the top of this tournament. And unfortunately for me, my top guy last year was Russell Henley. He had a big lead, and on Sunday he collapsed and lost the lead, was in the playoff and lost in the playoff. And so it's going to be exciting golf to watch because the scoring will be good and there's going to be a lot of guys with a chance at winning it.
And this course too, this tournament, you got a lot of guys that are on the FedEx playoff bubble. I am personally, and we really didn't buy into it much last year either coming down the stretch, but I'm not one of those guys that shots gained emotions. Like I try and take that out, like all the feel good stories and this maybe in this dude's head and this guy may be more motivated than others. These are professional golfers with a fair amount of money on the line. Like they're here to win money. Like there's no doubt about it. So I don't buy those narratives. I try and focus on what we can look at, and that's the historical data. So
I happen to buy those narratives.
I know you do.
We know.
So take that for what you will.
She's pretty good at it though. Like we're men, we're really not in tune with emotional things or narratives. Like we're not as perceptive as you. Like that's the thing, is I can't rely on my perception of somebody's storyline going into a week. Like I have no clue. I couldn't do it. Like I've tried doing that. I've tried tailing your picks and just saying, oh, let's see this, and I'll be like, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. And you'll win and I'll win tailing you. But I'm just like looking at it going, well, I like him because of this and she likes him because of this, but we both like the same guy. So it's
very true. I think that's just
it's neither here nor there, but like I don't feel
kind of thing.
Yes, it's a real thing because you can buy into the narrative all you want, but if you're not good at buying into the narrative, it doesn't really matter. Kelly's damn good at buying into the narrative and picking the right players.
Thank you. Conor brings up a great point, though. They are professionals. One time I was horribly off was on a JT pick one week where I was just like, he's exhausted coming off of this tournament. He's not going to play well. I'm not going in. And I mean, this is probably like a month and a half ago, but man, was I wrong about that one. So you can't always rely on that feeling of exhaustion, which is one I go off of less of, and more about, are they in their head? Because that's one that I feel like is something that I've been good at picking up on. But Conor has a great point. Weigh those things, take them with a grain of salt, exhaustion or the yips or what have you, because they are pros.
They are pros.
Yeah, they're pros, and really, it's tough to tell what kind of mindset the guy's going to go into. Whether he's sharp, whether he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed on Thursday morning, tweaks his back, and maybe he doesn't withdraw and he just plays like crap, like a couple of these golfers that we played have done this season. It's going to come down to leverage, and we had an argument in the middle of last week's tournament about leverage. And I think it's really important this week as well because there's some chalky players here that are really popular. And there's also going to be some guys that are even top price that are not going to be heavily owned this week that we're going to want to play. And it's going to come down to what your chalk tolerance is, because the guy we were arguing about was, of course, Mr. Kind Eyes, Matt Kucher, who came in at 21% rostered, which for some people is just too chalky. And for other people, it's like, well, I like him as part of this lineup, which is not necessarily make him chalky. And so, yeah, that was the debate last week because Kucher was set to make the cut and then had a bad stretch on the back nine on Friday and missed the cut. And if you had 21% Kucher and he missed the cut, then you went down with 21% of the people that had him. So it's kind of a middling number, though, because I think chalk was more than 20%, and that's just barely more than 20.
And I also looked at the price, which is something I brought up in my argument, was I also think of chalk as somebody who's overpriced, but that's not necessarily the case. It's more ownership. Go ahead, Connor, I cut you off.
No, you're okay. I was just gonna say that like I should reserve talking shit to a minimum, because every time I do it, instantly something happens to my lineup. Like instantly. Kind of like when Rory was on that amazing first day run, and I just started popping off about see, I told you.
Over par the next day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thanks for coming out.
Oh, and last week when Kelly was like, psst, I'm in the lead, and of course Sung JM birdies the last 3 holes, and I end up winning by 2 points because of Sung JM pulling it together. Because I was like, I need a miracle. It's like I need Sung JM to literally birdie out to somehow sneak back and win this thing, and he ended up doing it while I was in an appointment. Like I didn't even know. I like log out, and I'm behind by like 11 points. I'm like, oh, that's pretty much it. Kelly's got it. And then I log back in after my appointment, and I see that I won by 2 points, and I was like, wait, what did Sung Jae do? What did Sung Bae do? Because Sung is Bae now. And that was kind of how it goes, because you just don't know. Like everything can happen really quickly. But if Kelly didn't, when she was ahead all this whole week, and I came back this week too. I was behind by 30 or 40 on Sunday, and I came back and lost by 1. But I didn't hear a peep out of her in the chat because she didn't want to jinx herself, and she didn't, and she won. I think there's something to that.
I just go to a freaking 4-day appointment now every time I'm playing you guys. I just don't worry about it till Tuesday morning. So I know we got another show over at IBT tonight. NASCAR follows us right away. So you guys want to get into some of this?
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. Do you want to kick us off with 9s and 10s?
I would love to. So my number 1 play this week is going to be Shane Lowry, which will be of no surprise to anybody who watches the show. I'm a big fan. He does rate out really well. Won't bore you with the details, but he's just having, and sort of quietly having, a great season. I don't think that he has the flamboyant style of some of the other guys. I think he's pretty humble most of the time, and so I think it kind of flies under the radar. But this is a guy that has been knocking down top 10s left and right all year, and in a field like this, on a course like this, it requires good driving, good approach, good putting. Like, I think Shane Lowry is a good pick this week, especially amongst the chalk at the top.
And it's quiet.
Go ahead.
I have Shane Lowry. So it's funny because I took the same format as I'm studying this week. Who else might I pick outside of the top 3? However, I do have a special spot reserved for Shane Lowry, who does net out among the top 3. So I will be playing him as well, not to compete there, but I can't see not playing Shane Lowry there. I know that you guys have talked a lot about Russell Henley coming in at like 9.8, but I think, gosh, I don't know if I can stay away from Billy Ho when we're talking about players in the 9s and 10s. It's always just fun to say, although I find him to be a little pricey at 10.3.
Billy.
Billy. Just his event history is something that you can't overlook here when you talk about this tournament. So that's particularly why I was on with him. Strokes gained is really looking good for him. Off the tees, not like a bomber, but man, is he accurate at 68%. So I think that's where I'm going with my pricey picks. Hey, Troy, thanks for tuning in. But yeah, I'm going to go with Billy Horschel as my top pricey pick if we're just throwing them out there.
I do like Billy Ho. I like at the top there. I can't see a way to play 2 people at the top, and that's kind of where I'm getting kind of coming off of Billy Ho a little bit. It's like I actually the other guy I like up there is Zalatoris, and Zalatoris is somebody that Bo and I were heavy on last year, and for no particular reason, we just saw somebody that we thought ultimately would be a good fit for the course. I mean, he didn't have a whole lot of experience at the time, and everything about Zalatoris's game, if he can just find a monicum of putting, he would.
God, for the love of God, just putt. But Will, you got to find the Zalatoris. It's under the hood.
God, he leaves it in the trunk every week, I think. But
this is never going to get old.
He leaves it on the lip every week.
Yeah, that's it. Not very visible, but yeah, I think that's kind of the thing. Is I'm with you, Kelly. I do like Billy Ho, and I have liked him most of the season. Just this week, I just feel way more strongly about playing the other two, and I'm probably more going to play Shane Lowry than even Zalatoris. But those are my two that I like up there.
Man, you guys are all over the top of this board. And for me, I'm looking at a guy who's overpriced, yes, but it's taking away all the chalk. And that's Webb Simpson. The guy's just absolutely built for this course. He's a straight hitter, great approach player, and actually makes putts, unlike Will Zalatoris. Webb Simpson's hitting this tournament hot. I just love the play here. At 10-7, you're not going to be able to put another top stud next to him. But my stone cold locks are going to be in the 8s. So I'm going to have a lot of guys clustered in the mid prices. And so I'm going to be able to afford a less chalky, overpriced Webb Simpson. I really do feel that's a great play for a tournament in DFS. Maybe not for the head-to-head with you guys, because I don't really care about chalk in a head-to-head because just play the best players. In a tournament, I'm looking at Webb Simpson at under 10% rostered because 10-7 is not too expensive, because a lot of the guys I really, really love in this tournament, like I said, are lower than 9K.
Webb just scares me. I don't know that I would say that I feel like Webb is hot right now. I would say Webb is, you're right, past Webb of any part of the last 2 decades of golf, I would agree with you, is a perfect fit for this course. But I just don't see anything in Webb right now that tells me that he's the same golfer he was when he played here and got his couple T2s and, all of his top 10s. And so I don't know. I like Webb, and I think I'm probably going to be at least partially incorrect by saying this, but I think he's the one at the top that I'm just not going to play.
That seems to be the common theme from what I've seen from the data.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Your ownership is right. Just to be clear, like my number looks the same as yours. I see it at about 8.2 ish.
Yep, that's what I see too. And that's beautiful for if I'm spending up on a guy in a tournament that could win the tournament, and I'm not looking for a guy that's going to be at 20%. I'm going to be diversifying first and foremost, but the guy I'm going to have the most exposure to will be the guy with the lowest rostership.
I'm also not looking at Webb Simpson this week. And even though I gave Billy Ho a shout out, I'm probably not playing him. I just think if you're looking for somebody in that top range, I do like him. My particular rosters, I've been a fan of staying small. I know you guys get big pools going.
You guys.
I know specifically Bo makes a very large pool of players and spreads them out across different tournaments. My pool of players is probably closer to, if it's 15, it's a lot for me. But last week specifically, I played 6 and 6 alone. The week before that, I think I had 8, and I made a few swaps here and there. So it just depends on your playing style and how in love you are with your lineup, really.
Yeah.
Mine on average throughout the season is usually 15 to 20 max is about where I land. I usually try and land around 15. I like to have like a strong core 4 or 5. And then I kind of switch around a couple of guys that are more volatile, just so I have some like consistency. But yeah, I don't play a large pool anymore either. I used to play, 35, 40 guys and just, pepper the lower dollar GPPs. Right. But
so I'll pull back the curtain on my pool. It's 24 to 30 usually of golfers, 24 to 30. I'm building 20 lineups, and I have 3 core guys that I want 40 to 50% exposure on. So 3, maybe 4 core guys if I really, really feel strongly about them, but usually it's 3. And then the rest of the 20 to 24 guys are going to be sprinkled in at no more than 20%. I want to diversify my non-locks.
That's good. Good sharing. Is there anybody else in the DraftKings $9,000 or $10,000 range you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, nines. There are a couple of guys that I'm looking at. Specifically, Corey Connors is a pivot off of Russell Henley. Corey Connors was absolutely on fire for a lot of the season. He's probably not going to have a whole lot of rostership based on how popular Henley is going to be this week.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, like Corey Connors' biggest knock was always that he was kind of a shit putter. And I don't know that I would even say that anymore. He's been consistently getting better and better. And I love his approach game. And at least in my modeling, he rates out number 1 in the field over the last 36 for the approach metric. So I'm big into playing Corey Connors over Russell Henley. And I'm even pretty excited to play Terrell Hatton over Scott, who is another guy coming in, very popular for.
It's my guy.
Frankly. Yeah. And Hatton, man, like Hatton, this is you talk about Webb Simpson being made for this course. Terrell Hatton's made for this course. He's accurate off the tee, great approach and wedge game, absolute nails with a putter. As long as he can keep his head in check, that Terrell Hatton could absolutely run away with this.
Yeah, I don't think there's any double bogey blow up holes for Hatton to lose his cool on this course, which is another reason why I really love him. And like you said, he's not nearly as popular as the ghost of Adam Scott that hasn't really played well this year. He's popular. Everybody knows his name. He's one of the best golfers to ever live, but not this year. Like Adam Scott's been solid at best. Terrell Hatton has upside. Like I want guys that are going to be on birdie streaks. Adam Scott might make 1 or 2 birdies and then a string of pars. Well, in DFS, that doesn't pay the bills.
Okay, fair enough. I was just going to give you a little spanking because Adam Scott has not been terrible this year. Adam Scott has played well this year. However, for DFS purposes, not your best points scorer in general, but solid pick should you need to plug someone in. However, this week he's not priced well enough to just be plugged in. So there you go. Let's talk about the 8s, shall we? Because I know I have a lot going on there.
Oh, I love the 8s.
Yeah, me too.
Let's start at 8,900 with another guy who's kind of cutting the same mold as Hatton with Denny McCarthy. Like absolute nails with the wedge. He's one of the best putters in the world, bar none. He's top 5 in every putting metric you can find. Denny McCarthy is going to be making birdies. He's got 5 top 10s this season, same number as his 5 missed cuts over 25 events. This guy plays every week just about, and he's another guy that fits the course, and he's contended a lot on these types of courses this season where the longer courses kind of price him out. He doesn't do well with long rough. He's not going to encounter any of that stuff that he struggled with in this tournament. He's going to be able to find fairways and stick wedges close and make all kinds of putts. I wouldn't be surprised if McCarthy 8,900 won this whole thing.
I was a week early on him. Like I jumped back on him last week, and I'm going back to him again this week because for all the same reasons that you just said. And personally, I don't know. He just didn't hit his stride last week. Like I'm not out on him. He's got the skill set. This is a great fit for him. That 8,900 is fantastic because Siwoo Kim, for whatever reason, is the DFS darling this week, and everybody's lining up to tout him and play him. I'll just go with Denny McCarthy, who I loved last week and I love this week.
They got the wrong Kim, really, to be honest. Yeah, I mean,
I will play Tom Kim.
Tom Kim or Ju Young Kim, whatever name you want to associate with the Korean, who's moving up in the world rankings as we speak at 8,600. He's on fire right now. Like the guy is in fuego. And usually guys that go to courses like this while they're on fire, they don't lose their hot streak. This is going to be an exciting one for Tom/Ju Young Kim.
I'm going to throw out there a couple for you. Taylor Pendress again. I'm going to stay on that train. Where I play him, I'm not quite sure yet. However, he is a rookie. He's healed off of an injury that was really just a bad break, ribs. they take forever to heal. And in the golf industry, you need your core. So great golfer, ready to prove himself. When we talk about intuition, I really do like what Taylor Pendress is giving off. Don't need to really dive into stats there. Just know that he's a good player and he's here to prove himself. My next one that I should probably tell you is 8-5 on DraftKings.
Well, and I'm right there with you too. Like I think all three of us are. Like there's another guy who was a week early on when he withdrew last like 5 minutes before tee. And ever since, like I've been right there with you. Like I even played him head to head against you. Like you absolutely had a lot of good points that got me more bought in with him last week. And the guy is incredibly good. I mean, you just like there's no reason to not play him. But I did want to say like this has been consistent since he came back from injury. Like he's good.
Yeah, it's I think that's probably the important part when you're thinking about a player that you know nothing about really because he's a rookie and he came off of injury is what did he do prior to being injured? Well, shoot, he played really great golf. So that's all you really need to know. And hopefully when he comes back from injury, he continues to succeed, and he has. He's placed well in every tournament since his injury. The other player I wanted to throw out there is Aaron Wise, conservative at 8.1 on DraftKings.
Go Ducks.
All about Wise.
Me too. This one's unanimous.
Unanimous. It's just wild to me that he's only 8-1, which to me feels like a steal. Over 300 yards off the tee. I don't know if we call him a bomber or not, 60% accuracy, but greens and regulations, you don't get much better. Although one person I'm going to share is better than 68% of greens and regulations. I think the one person that's better than that, we already talked about actually, and that's Shane Lowry at 69% greens and regulations. Nice. So you want three-putt avoidance, Aaron Wise is your guy. So there we go. Aaron Wise, 8.1. That's a steal.
Yes, it is.
No argument for me on Aaron Wise. I have a giant star next to that guy.
Yeah, big star. He's getting the 40 to 50% treatment for me. That's, no brainer. Go Ducks.
Go Ducks. Did you already talk about, did you have people in the 8s?
Yeah, I had McCarthy and Kim in the 8s.
Oh, that's right. You brought up the Kims.
Yeah,
I was listening.
I will say one other dude in the 8s. Sorry, just to throw one out there because we were really big on him last year, and I think he's actually having a better season this year. Is Brian Harmon. So it's a really good price on somebody who, when you start talking about short game skill set that matches this course really well, Brian Harmon. I'll always say this about Brian Harmon too. Not a sexy pick, but that's a good price for somebody who definitely can compete at this course. So. Didn't want to leave him out.
Only knock I have on Harmon is he doesn't make enough birdies, but this might be the course where that comes out of him. He's been very consistent this year, but as far as DFS scoring, he's only averaging 60 fantasy points a week. Not that great for a guy who makes as many cuts as he does. It's a really low number.
I think there's guys around him that score worse though. So depending on what your salary is looking like, that's the only reason I brought him up is that lower 8,000s range. A lot of times that's your last guy in. So, Harmon isn't necessarily a bad play. And I mean, you're right on the DK points side of things, but he's good for a top 10 on a lot of courses. And if you get the extra bonus points for a top 10, that goes from 60 to 70, 80 points, depending on where he's sitting, and 80 points for your last man in isn't horrible. So just an option if you're down in that price range.
Yeah.
How's that Woodford?
So good. Making me forget about how hot I feel right now.
Sedgefield.
Yeah. So let's move on to the 7s. Probably not super exciting, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. At 7-9 on DK is Mark Hubbard again this week. I
think that one's also unanimous, Kelly.
Probably. I mean, this one it's not like it's a no-brainer and we're all picking the same things because we do have some variance. And I know that we'll probably should share our lineups prior to going in and see if who we're married to. Mark Hubbard, again, 68% of greens in regulation, just like Aaron Wise. So excellent there. He's not a bomber, but he is accurate, more accurate than Aaron Wise at 63%. He's made 8 of his 10 last cuts, 7-9. You should definitely continue. The only thing I'm struggling with is he is struggling a bit with his putter. And I didn't know how you guys felt about that.
I'm not struggling with that as much as I'm struggling with a 21 to 22% projected ownership on Mark Hubbard. Like that's rough. That scares me because I love Mark Hubbard. You know that I do. I brought him up months ago when you guys laughed at me for playing him, and I've kind of been on him ever since. Like, big fan of Hubbard. That ownership percentage, that kind of scares me for Hubbard. I'll have some because I'm with you, Kelly. Like, I think he does have a good skill set. I feel like, without going back and actually running the numbers real quick, like, I feel like he's streaky. He'll go in spurts where he does putt really well, and then it's a little Adam Scottish. Like, Adam Scott might show up and sink everything he looks at, or he may 3-putt every hole. So, but I like Hubbard. It's a play of mine for sure this week.
Something that, before you say, Bo, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was just thinking about past shows when we've all kind of been on the same golfers. This is a great time for anybody who might be new at picking their lineups to even just go with those unanimous picks, because chances are that could be your winning ticket versus picking and choosing from each of us or picking a favorite analysts and tailing them. If you're new, maybe just pick, the ones that we are, the ones that we're in agreement on. So go ahead, Bo. What were you going to say?
Next year, pick me for the first 5 weeks, then switch to Kelly for a couple, then switch to Bo for like 3, and then go back to Kelly.
Yeah. So Conor is the Russell Wilson of DFS golf analysts. He's the Russell Wilson. He starts off in a streak of hellfire and then completely disappears.
I'm best with guys that you don't know their name.
Right. Yeah. He's the deep diver guy. I'm more of like, what is this guy's recent form? And of course, leverage. Like, I'm going to say leverage 1 billion times this season, because it's DFS. You're playing against other lineups, and you have to play the percentages to maximize your chance of winning, especially in a large field tournament. Sevens, I have a couple that I really like. The one that I really like is, of course, Hubbard, but of course, he's chalky as all get up. So I'm going to actually look down a little bit more at Chris Goddard. I'm not ecstatic about him, but he's a solid player. KH Lee, I'm back on this week because the Panda he's the kind of guy that just comes out of nowhere in these types of tournaments where he doesn't do anything in a tougher tournament with a good field. And when it comes down to it, this is kind of a weaker field because all the top guys are kind of tuning up for the FedEx Cup playoffs next week. But he did win the Byron Nelson, which is a similar tournament on a shorter course with lots of easy scoring. So give me KH Lee at 7,400, and then Harris English. Harris English is going to be in my pool for sure. And Callum Tarrant, shout out Seth. Shout out Seth because he loves himself some Callum Tarrant, and Tarrant is hot right now. He's so hot like Hansel.
I was going to eat some crow on that one too and give a little shout out to Seth because I will have him in my lineup this week. I
was the first one to get Callum Tarrant going. I looked back at the RBC was when I first did Callum Tarrant, and you
can hold my beer though on such greats as Cameron Young, Davis Riley, and Will Zalatoris because I'm owning those
friends. Please, because this argument still holds water that even though he's hot, are the points there when you're equal points to somebody that may not even make the cut? This is a player that you might plug in. It's not when you're going to hang your hat on.
Yes. Yeah. To Kelly's point, even the top 10s that Callum Tarrant has had, he only scored 84.5 points. And usually top 10 guys are a lock for over 100. So she's right.
I like the cut making prowess though, and if you compare him in the price range, and that's actually what's kind of got me on him this week is Mark Hubbard, not a lock to make the cut.
Nope.
and then as I go down, I don't like a lot of guys in the sevens, but Adam Svensson, I'm going back to. I'm not going to get scared off of him by
That's my guy.
Yeah, so I'll see you there. And then Lee Hodges, who is also quite good lately. But again, these are guys that are not a lock to make the cut. So I don't have to have a lot of exposure to them, but I can use Callum Tarrant as my lower 7K guy that gives me some leverage with my spending elsewhere. And I can be fairly confident that the lineups I play him in will at least get him through the cut. And that's kind of where I'm going with him this week.
So someone in the sevens that I didn't mention that I'm actually writing and broadcasting about this week will be one I think Bo was on for a while. No, it was Conor. It was Conor. Definitely. CT Pan. CT Pan this week at just 7-4 on DraftKings.
CT Deadpan.
He's got a small blip on the radar for the approach, but it's mostly the long distance approach. Not necessarily your chip into the green or even from the rough. We're talking over 200 yards of blip on the radar. So it's not terribly scary for me because his upside outweighs that for me. He's a 300-yard driver, 295 average. And he's accurate again, 63%. I love my data. Greens and regulation, 67%. And for that, he's going to earn the title of one we should not be overlooking this week, perhaps in the sevens. He's also a consistent putter, and he's great at his 3-putt avoidance. So if you're looking for someone in the sevens, the problem is he's somewhat volatile, which we have talked about a lot of these people in the sevens making the cut. The data points to, yes, CT Pan at 7-4. The heartstrings are a little nervous.
The heartburn points to CT Pan's either going to be really good or really bad.
That's CT Pan for you. I should know. I played him a lot last year, and you made fun of me a lot for it.
Yeah. And you played a lot of Austin Smotherman throughout this season, and he's had some good ones, and then recently he's had some really bad ones. What do you think about him?
Smotherman? I'm probably going to be out on Smotherman.
Yeah.
I think he had his heyday for us, and we got very lucky to hit it when it was hot. And I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's just not somebody I'm going to roster every week. I think there'll be really specific spots that pop up for him that I want to play him. This just isn't one of them.
I have a secret though. I'm playing this guy a lot at 7,100. It's the guy I just found out about last week. It's the German Stefan Jager.
Oh yeah,
he's looking pretty good. He's a pretty accurate little iron player. I haven't seen him play very much, but when he showed up last week and was firing at pins on Sunday, I took notice.
I don't hate Jaeger. I really would prefer Lee Hodges, just some of the stuff I've looked at. But there was one that Kelly actually had a quick payday on earlier in the season that I really like at 7,300, and he rates out great for scoring, great for overall strokes gain, and that's JJ Spawn at 7,300. So that's probably my last one in the sevens.
Okay, we have enough time for everyone to kind of throw out a complete flyer in 6 or below before we get off the air so NASCAR can get on the air. My flyer is barely in there. I'm going to go with Lahiri. Honorbon Lahiri at 6'9" on DraftKings.
Nice.
I just think he's got course event history. He's got event history. He's been very spotty as far as his last 10 events. But I feel like when we start looking at these more inexpensive players, Lahiri's looking pretty good amongst this group at 6'9". What you got?
I have
two.
A guy. I have one. I'll get it out of the way. I'll let Conor come to the home stretch with two very strong value plays. But this guy got a top 10 at the Honda Classic, which is a similar tight course with small greens. You gotta make good solid approach shots. And he last week was 24th, and that's Sam Ryder at 6,700. Sam Ryder is the kind of golfer that can make moves on this course. I'm thinking that he's more volatile because he only has 2 top 10s and he's made less than half of the cuts. But recent form and leverage, nobody's going to have Sam Ryder as their value pick, just like nobody had Kurt Kitayama last week as their value pick. I'm just thinking it lines up really well for him. So 6,700 Sam Ryder with a Y.
I do like Sam Ryder, actually. I'll have some sprinkles of him. The 2 that I really like, Justin Lauer. We're going with Lauer. We've been on him for a few weeks now.
Yes,
Lower.
I like that.
A lot of things.
Lower. We like him.
Lower.
I'm calling him Lauer. But he's another guy that accurate off the tee to a point. He's not bad. He's about 60% fairways in regulation. His greens and reg though is quite good at 68.2%. The other thing too is our handy dandy strokes gained graphing tool that we have shows him trending rapidly up. And if you look at some of the spotty results over the last 6-8 tournaments, he kind of ebbs and flows. He was a 30th last time out at Rocket Mortgage. I could definitely see him sneaking into the top 10 here. And all of his stats for the last 5 rounds are looking pretty damn good. And then the other one that Kelly and I were joking about for the last couple of weeks, because she can't pronounce his name, and I am fully on board with him this week, is Michael Glickick, who's also trending incredibly well. He has a 10, a 21, a 16. He did have a missed cut last week, which I absolutely love. I think it's going to get some people off of him because at that price point, you are scraping a little bit. So I think people will see some of the performance he's had and want to click his name. But
I looked it up. The pronunciation, because it's Serbian last name, is Glickick.
Glickick. Thank you. So Lauer, Lower, and Glickick have been 2 of my very favorite last plugins of my lineups. They have both served me very well. I'm so glad to hear you bring them up, Conor. I hope they do well for you. I don't know that I'm playing them this week just because I think I probably I'm just saying in our lineup. I have an idea of where I want to go.
I won't.
I phrased that wrong. I have an idea of where I want to go. The point is even if either of these guys doesn't make the cut, in my experience, they've scored enough points in those 2 days that you don't drown. And that's really important in DFS. So there we have it.
Tell the gentleman outside of your apartment that Paul Walker still owes me a
gosh. I'm telling you, I live my little studio main drag here, and I do have the windows closed, but sometimes it gets really loud.
No, you live 1/4 mile at a time. That's how you
live. He's got a 4-banger and a coffee can. That's all he needs.
All he's doing is shooting grapefruit down the
Oh my gosh, I'm cutting you guys off. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week, same time, same channel. Tune in Twitter, follow each of us for various takes prior to lock, and see you around. Bye.